Do you like the idea of inventing something that would make you $1 million? Well, of course you do. But hey, don't get discouraged or bogged down by the little details like actually knowing what you're doing. That's because some of the greatest inventions of all time happened without the inventors even meaning to create them. Here are the 10 greatest inventions that were total accidents. Number 10 is the Slinky. They walk downstairs alone or in pairs, but the metal marvel that can entertain children for, well, minutes if we're being honest, wouldn't exist if it wasn't for a happy accident that occurred in 1943, attempting to create spring coils that would keep sensitive and fragile instruments stable while on naval ships in the choppy waters of the world's oceans. Mechanical engineer Richard James really thought that he was onto something, but the United States Navy didn't think so and decided not to buy his inventions. However, while perfecting his work, James knocked one of them off the shelf and watched in amazement as it walked on its own. So he quickly introduced it as a children's toy, first selling it in Philadelphia, where the entire inventory of 400 Slinkies sold out in just 90 minutes. Number 9 are Postit Notes. Sometimes amazingly useful inventions aren't just the product of an accident, but actually a failure. Just ask Spencer Silver, who in 1968 was working at the 3M company and researching what made things stick in an attempt to make an ultra-strong adhesive. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you see it, Silver's experiment failed and he ended up creating a sticky substance that could be removed from even paper with little to no effort. It wasn't until a fellow scientist used Silver's invention to mark pages in the book of his church songs that the reality of the product's usefulness was understood. Today, we call those sticky little papers Post-it notes, and there are very few people who don't use them. One product's failure is another's $1 million success. These things have personally been responsible for saving a whole lot of my notes and memories and ideas. Thank you, 3M. Number 8 are chocolate chip cookies. There are actually 2 variations of how the first chocolate chip cookies were created, but ironically both were accidents. In the first version, Ruth Wakefield was attempting to make chocolate cookies when she ran out of baking chocolate. Assuming that semi-sweet Nestle chocolate would be a suitable substitute, she added it, only to find that it remained separated from the batter, creating regular cookies with chocolate pieces. In the second version, the head chef at the Toll House Inn, George Boucher, was making sugar cookies when vibrations made by the mixer caused some chocolate on a higher shelf to fall down into the dough. Now, although we don't know which one of those 2 stories came first, what I do know is that chocolate chip cookies always come first, before any meal or any person. Chocolate chip cookies. Number 7 is the Inkjet Printer. Imagine creating something that revolutionizes an industry simply by making a mistake. That's the reality behind one of the most popular methods of putting what's on a screen on paper. One day in the early 1950s, an engineer working at the Canon Manufacturing Company accidentally set a hot iron down on a pen. This resulted in the ink inside heating up and exploding out from the pen's point. Realizing that somehow this was significant, the unnamed employee developed that happy error into a design for the first inkjet printer, and hopefully was well compensated by making that mistake by the billion-dollar company. Today, inkjets are the most commonly used type of printer and are manufactured by all kinds of companies. But if it wasn't for an iron and a pen, that wouldn't be the case. Number 6 are potato chips. This episode's making me hungry. Not trying to get revenge at someone who wronged you is still good advice. However, if everyone followed that, we might not have delicious snacks like potato chips. The greasy junk food was actually the result of a form of revenge that a chef took on a customer in 1853. While eating at Moon's Lake House, a restaurant just outside of Saratoga Springs, New York, an unnamed customer decided that his fried potatoes weren't crunchy enough. So, after receiving multiple complaints from the same individual, Chef George Crumb decided to give him exactly what he wanted. So he sliced the potatoes up as thin as humanly possible and dumped them in hot grease, salting the rigid pieces generously afterwards. Assuming that it would bring anger to the customer's face, Crumb was shocked when he reported that he loved them. Soon everybody wanted Saratoga chips. Number 5 is the microwave oven. While it's now a staple appliance in almost every kitchen and staff room, the microwave oven began as an accident in some guy's pocket. Yep. In 1945, while performing an experiment using a magnetron, a type of high-powered vacuum tube found inside a radar, Percy Spencer discovered a candy bar in his pocket had suddenly melted, leaving a peanut butter mess behind. Instead of getting reasonably upset, Spencer got excited and went to work trying out other foods, his first choice fittingly being popcorn. At the time, he was working for the Raytheon Corporation, who quickly used his find to build the first microwave ovens, which they called the Ratter Range. Now, the first appliances were massive, but by 1967, a much smaller countertop version was introduced, similar to the one that you use every day. I wonder how long it took for people to realize that you could do all kinds of experiments in a microwave. Just whatever you do, don't put any sort of metal, including tinfoil. It is a spark show. Number 4 is the Implantable Pacemaker. In 1960, the first patient to receive an internal cardiac pacemaker stepped out of the hospital, alive and well thanks to Wilson Greatbach, an electrical engineer and inventor at the University of Buffalo in Gettysville, New York. But believe it or not, this was the result of a mistake. In the late 1950s, he was building an oscillator, a heart rhythm recording device, when he grabbed the wrong resistor out of his toolbox. Unaware of his error, Greatbach completed the machine only to find after activating it, the device gave off intermittent electrical pulses at almost the exact same pace as the human heart. In the days that followed, he managed to shrink the accidental pacemaker down and add protection from bodily fluids so it could be surgically installed into a person. Today, more than 3 million people are alive thanks to his amazing mistake. Number 3 is artificial sweetener. Diabetics and dieters should thank two things for their ability to make things sweet: a research scientist and his gross habit of not washing his hands. Yes, the world got its first artificial sweetener thanks to Dr. Konstantin Fahlberg, a chemist working at Johns Hopkins University in Baltimore, Maryland. One day in 1879, he accidentally spilled a chemical called saccharin on his hands while in the lab. Thinking nothing of it, he returned home for lunch. But disgustingly, Fahlberg neglected to wash his hands and discovered everything that he ate tasted sweeter than it should. Sure enough, it was because of the chemical on his hands. Saccharin became the first sweetener and the chemist began selling it. When sugar was suddenly rationed for World War I, sales skyrocketed, meaning an accident made a guy rich. But seriously, this was a very rare occurrence. Please don't go around not washing your hands, because Matt Santoro told me to. You're gonna get E. coli. That's poopy in your mouth. Your hands are dirty. Number 2 are X-ray images. We owe our ability to see a person's bones without painful deep cuts to a whoopsie. On November 8, 1895, Wilhelm Röntgen, a German physicist and mechanical engineer, was performing experiments on cathode rays, glowing beams of electrons formed with the use of vacuum tubes and electricity. In an attempt to protect his glass tube, he covered it in black cardboard, only to see a bench across the room light up in a glowing green light as beams hit it. Wilhelm named his new discovery X-rays, as X is a substitution in math for the unknown, and at the time was exactly what the rays were. The first picture ever taken using an X-ray was of his wife's left hand, drawing the words, "I have seen my death." Okay, that's a little dark. But the find actually won Wilhelm the Nobel Prize in Physics in 1901, and has since then helped save many lives. And number 1 is penicillin. Believe it or not, something that has saved countless lives around the world for nearly a century wouldn't have been available if not for a happy accident. In 1928, Scottish researcher Sir Alexander Fleming was experimenting with an influenza virus in a lab at St. Mary's Hospital in London, England. After accidentally and unknowingly allowing a culture plate to become contaminated, Fleming left for a 2-week vacation only to find, upon his return, a mold growing on it. It didn't take long for the scientists to realize that the mold was preventing the growth of gram-positive bacteria. Naming his accidental creation penicillin, Fleming announced that he had discovered the world's first antibiotic and subsequently changed medicine forever. Which is great, although we now also know that too many antibiotics in your system will actually create superbugs and then they're just gonna kill the whole world and we're all doomed. Okay. So that's it, the 10 greatest inventions that were actually accidents. But are you guys aware of any other crazy accidents that ended up being amazing inventions? Please leave a comment below because I like to get a conversation started. I'm sure this was not an exhaustive list. Okay, I will see you guys next time. Bye.